Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got another great show for you today. I'd like to begin by wishing a very happy birthday to Lindsey.
Thank you. I'm a winter baby. I'm just turning 21. I'm so happy I got this job here at this young age.
I was going to say 29, which I think the audience would
okay, 29.
fully believe.
Yes, 29. 21 plus 8 times that I've celebrated over and over again.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. I'm excited to be here in D.C., my new home.
Your new home.
See how I'm going to go out and celebrate tonight.
That should be fun. Middle of the week, though. We've still got
It is. I know.
I
know. Coming up on Rising, pop star Sabrina Carpenter is feuding with the White House after they used one of her songs in a deportation video on X.
Plus, billionaires Michael and Susan Dell have pledged to donate $6.25 billion to investment accounts for 25 million children.
And President Putin is accusing Europe of sabotaging peace plans for the Ukraine war and even said he was ready for war with the continent if they wanted it. But first, Robby, what's on your radar?
Let's get to it. She's back. Hillary Clinton is opining on a topic near and dear to her heart, the supposed misinformation spread by social media regarding all her favorite topics. This is a political figure utterly convinced she would be accepted by all the world and by American voters in particular if people stopped listening to social media and instead got all their news from the credentialed experts of the mainstream media. Recently, Clinton spoke at Israel Hayam's summit to explain why she thinks people, especially young people, many of them Jewish Americans themselves, have turned against Israel over the war in Gaza. Spoiler, she thinks it's all TikTok's fault. Let's watch.
That our students, smart, well-educated young people from our own country, from around the world, where were they getting their information? They were getting their information from social media, particularly TikTok. That is where they were learning about what happened on October 7th, what happened in the days, weeks, and months to follow. That's a serious problem. It's a serious problem for democracy, whether it's Israel or the United States, and it's a serious problem for our young people.
This is a very familiar refrain from Clinton, who, of course, when she lost the 2016 election, blamed it all on Facebook and, in particular, Russian bots that supposedly flooded the platform with pro-Trump and anti-Clinton content. It's part of the reason she concluded that Trump was an illegitimate president. Her words. People had trusted respectable news outlets. They wouldn't have fallen for the lies of social media, which are polluting our democracy, according to Clinton. Of course, what we learned subsequently is that the impacts of Russian bots on Facebook was greatly exaggerated, but never mind, Hillary Clinton has found her go-to explanation for political outcomes that she disagrees with. Here's more of her remarks in which she clearly applies the same script to declining support for Israel.
A lot of the challenge is with younger people. More than 50% of young people in America get their news from social media. So just pause on that for a second. They are seeing short-form videos, some of them totally made up.
There's so much wrong with this, I don't even know where to start. First, the idea that social media evinces some bias, whereas traditional and legacy and mainstream media does not, is just obviously false. The mainstream had their biases. It was a bias toward government action. And when it comes to foreign policy, a bias toward military intervention and against peace. Remember the Iraq War, when even liberal media largely marched in lockstep with the administration? The media has a bias toward action, and that means a bias toward interventionism. It's also the preference of the credentialed elites, whom the mainstream media relies upon. Social media, by extension, is freewheeling and encompasses many other perspectives, some of which are wrong, or biased, or malicious, sure. But look, in the year of our Lord, 2025, if you don't have a plan for your message to prevail on social media, you don't have a plan, period. Social media has won the attention wars. Most people will continue to get their news from YouTube, from TikTok, from X, from Instagram. Those platforms may change over time, as there's remarkable competition in this space, contrary to what the antitrust people say. But people are not going to go back to television and print journalism. And by the way, if they are consuming programming made available via those formats, they are likely going to be consuming them on social media. You see a lot of screenshots from magazines and clips from TV on social media. It encompasses legacy media. There's just no way of getting around it. So what I suspect people like Hillary Clinton are really mad about is that people are consuming news sources that elites do not approve of, and they are reaching conclusions elites do not agree with. The fact is that many Americans, including many Jewish Americans, disagree with U.S. taxpayers funding Israel's destruction of Gaza. They've reached that conclusion after educating themselves. That's it. That's the whole story. They're not being manipulated or tricked. It's the same story as Americans losing faith in the Iraq War or even the Vietnam War before that. The American people got tired of both of those entanglements long before U.S. policymakers and experts soured on the conflicts. So don't be mad at the messenger, Madam Secretary. If you want Americans to support your foreign policy, you have to sell it better. Stop whining about TikTok or about other social media sites and get in the game, girl. By the way, if you're interested in how social media and big tech are impacting society and free speech, and you happen to live in Washington, D.C., I'm participating in a debate next week sponsored by my colleagues at Reason Magazine. You can go online for tickets. It's going to be me and Elizabeth Nolan Brown at Reason versus Ryan Grimm and Emily Jashinsky of Breaking Points, whom longtime viewers will remember from their days on Rising Fridays. Should be a great event, and it will appear, of course, on YouTube after it's filmed.
I'm excited for this event. That's going to be very, feisty debate. To talk about Hillary, I think...
Hillary. Dear old Hillary.
I like how you said girl. But translation to me of what she's saying is like, okay, you're not seeing what you're seeing, right? Because people online were just, you are seeing what you're seeing. And I think...
They were seeing images of dead kids, and they're rebelling against it. I'm sorry. Sorry they're seeing that. Nobody likes it.
And I think the context is important here, right? Hillary Clinton, and I don't know the long history of everything she said in her relationship directly to Israel. Like we saw the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, in Israel. And when he was recently visited, he had all the nicest things to say, but it was the audience. She is at a summit called the Israel Hayam Summit.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand the context that everything she's going to say is going to be largely positive in relation to that.
Yeah.
I don't think she would even go on that stage and criticize Netanyahu, which could be a thought that's in her head, because a lot of people worldwide have criticized his decisions in regards to this particular conflict. But I do think that I completely disagree with her, because when I first got into journalism and started producing for television, it was around the Arab Spring, which was around 2010, and there was a huge rising of people in the Middle East, and we watched that play out. And that was one of the first times that Twitter was blowing up, because it was like citizen journalism. People getting out there and showing us what was going on over there, and people finding ways to meet up outside of their news organizations that may stifle them, and found ways to protest and change what they wanted to see happen. And so I think by watching that, especially as a journalist, we no longer had to rely on a few sources to figure out what was going on internationally. We could look at people real time, live streaming or showing things on TikTok, on X at the time, or Twitter, and we were informed that way and would vet it. And I think it's a conduit to find more information. Of course, it's up to the magazines, newspapers, mainstream outlets, and even bloggers, podcasters, whoever's putting out information, to try to thoroughly vet their stuff if they want to be a trusted source. But the fact that there are more citizen journalists out there, it's how we are allowed to see what's really happening. It's how, when we go and talk about protests happening within our own country, or whether or not ICE incidents are getting out of control, we literally have videos now from people that were there, and then it's our job to vet them and find out if it's true, find out the person that filmed it, and figure out the context of it all. But I don't think that's a bad thing, and shutting that down is certainly not going to change the ways that people consume the information. They'll just find another way to put it out there.
She's still bitter about losing her election. She thinks it's because you got confused on Facebook. She still thinks that, and it's just not. People blaming social media is, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. I think that's really you're covering for some other insecurity, really. And that's her problem. She's just been rejected by the American people. Wasn't because they were confused, wasn't because they didn't know what they were getting. They just didn't want what she was offering.
Well,
Sorry.
Ever since the Arab Spring that I brought up, the algorithm has changed. And now it's very much stifled in a way that it wasn't, because now there are people that have gotten involved to argue your point about making sure the content that we see is more streamlined. But there still are things that can't be contained.
Yeah.
When the world is watching something and 72,000 people die in Gaza, there's no way that you can block people from finding that out.
Yep, absolutely. Coming up, in what President Trump is describing as one of the largest private donations in American history, billionaires Michael and Susan Dell are pledging to give $6.25 billion to investment accounts for 25 million children. We'll be right back. President Trump making a big announcement in the Oval Office yesterday alongside billionaire Michael Dell, the founder of Dell Technologies. Take a listen.
In honor of America's 250th anniversary, the Dells are announcing today that they are giving 25 million American children $250 each to save and to invest in their personal Trump account. Now that's the equivalent of $6.25 billion. This will give millions of dollars millions of children, middle-class families, a stake in American prosperity, a benefit from the rising stock market, and a better shot at the American dream.
You heard that right, more than $6 billion. All to kickstart Trump accounts for 25 million kids.
You may remember those Trump accounts were investment accounts for individual children set up as part of the big, beautiful bill. The accounts will be set up for babies born between January of this year and December of 2028, and that live in counties where the median household income is less than $150,000. This contribution from the Dells will be in addition to a $1,000 contribution from the Treasury Department per the accounts, but Trump says he hopes their donation sparks even more giving.
We hope many others will follow Michael and Susan's example and make their own contributions. I'll be doing it too, to the next generation, including businesses, churches, philanthropists, family members, and parents themselves. I think we're going to have a lot of people, Susan. I think a lot of people are going to be contribute. A lot of people are watching us right now. They might not be $6 billion plus, but there'll be a lot.
But some on the left are warning that the Trump accounts have a more sinister ulterior motive. Here's Senator Chris Murphy.
They're going to put like $1,000 into an account for babies that are born in the next couple of years. And then, you can add money to it over time, or you can have your employer add money to it. Okay, look, that's not a terribly objectionable idea. These Trump accounts are not really designed to help families. They're designed to undermine the Social Security system so that at some point Republicans can say, hey, we don't really need Social Security any longer because we have these tiny little Trump accounts with $1,000 put in at the outset, with Wall Street able to invest and make proceeds and profits and fees off of those accounts.
Ugh, what a killjoy. This is great. Private philanthropy, giving money to children, that's good. There's nothing bad to say about it. It's just nice. It's their money. That's what they're going to do with it. It's a very good thing. God bless them. Great. Wonderful. Oh, this is a stalking horse to abolish welfare. Man, give it a rest. Just shut up.
Okay,
go away.
This is one of the largest donations to ever go straight to
great.
Americans.
That's
so
great.
I don't agree, or I'm not going to co-sign condemning this in any way, because first of all, for the new proposal that President Trump has, giving young kids that are born in the recent few years, $1,000, Dell is stepping up and saying, people with older kids, let's also give them some money so that these accounts can grow and flourish with them. There's also this protection that they can't touch it until they turn 18. And as a mom and I always reference my initial experience because I want Kinsley to have money for college. It's very expensive. Yeah. So I opened her up a 529C account like the day after she was born, being OCD about it. And I got her the account, and so it grows each year, but she can't touch it until she's 18. But if somebody wouldn't have told me about that, then I wouldn't have had the knowledge to know that. So now that the government is setting up ways to do this and opening up to private people to give back money, we constantly see people, most recently Billie Eilish, criticize a billionaire for being a billionaire at an event where his wife was being awarded for philanthropy. So giving them those same people, well, I like Billie Eilish. I like
her
to bash her.
Just
I'm just saying, this gives people an opportunity to maybe, as well as donate to our lovely ballroom in our White House that I disagree with, they can also donate to children. And I'm not going to disagree with that. And I really, really, most importantly, would love to see how much President Trump plans to donate, because he did say his billionaire self will be planning to donate money. So I'd like him to lay it out and be really specific, because he's so wealthy and such an astute businessman. I would love to see the $ next to the name that's going to be on this Trump account, because a lot of this also...
He's already giving so much to our country, but sure, he can write a check too.
So much strife. Yeah. And if, he's going to put his name on the account, he should put some dollars in there too, because for the rest of these kids' life, they're going to go into their Trump account to take out their monies when they're 18 to follow their dreams. So he can put $1 in there. I think that would be nice.
The left has no answer to that. The left doesn't want rich people to exist. They want us to all be equally impoverished or something.
I'm agreeing with you.
On government wealth. I know. I'm trying to pick a fight.
But listen. I think I also hear Billie Eilish when she's like, okay, do you need all that money? Can you give back? At the same time, when we have a billionaire come into Doge and slash programs for the poorest of us, I understand all those arguments. But I'm definitely not going to bash
that much money. Do you need it's your money? I don't get to decide whether things that you have, that you earned, that belong to you. Do you need it?
Well, like some people say,
I don't need a cherry sundae, but if I pay for it with my money, oh well.
So there were reports this year that Elon Musk could possibly become a trillionaire. Now that's absurd when he's trying to cut our deficit so much. Why doesn't he just pay it down? If he wants to cut our deficit and care so much about this country, forget Doge, just pay it down. We could get out of debt if Elon Musk and other billionaires just throw some money.
Everybody has lots of opinions about what other people should spend their money on, and those opinions don't matter.
But we praise people like the Dells who spend their money on children and
I'm
honorable causes. So maybe Elon Musk can also consider
gives
being honorable.
tons to charity. He just doesn't tout it. He doesn't want to put his name on everything.
Are you his spokesperson? Do you know which charities that he gives to?
He's very quiet about it.
Oh, so quiet that we can't even find the information. I'd like to see what charities, I'm sure President Trump gives to some too. I'd like them to be a little louder about it because they're louder about most other things that they can criticize.
Well, Trump's pretty loud about things he gives money to.
Well, I'd like to see what he gives to these children. I mean, to me, this goes. People always criticize President Trump and have a lot of things to say about him, and rightfully so most of the time. But when you're giving money to children, and if he puts his money where his mouth is, then I would be thoroughly impressed. And I also give praise, like when he's trying to end the wars. And I say, okay, that's praiseworthy. Not Nobel Peace Prize worthy, but praiseworthy.
If we could replace Social Security with private philanthropy, I would be all for it.
No.
I would be all for it.
No.
I'd get rid of Social Security today. Gone. Privatized.
It's not right.
You want to pay into a system where part of your income is withheld so that you can have it when you're retired? That's fine. We can have a system like that. And if you don't want to, you shouldn't have to.
Why don't you?
I say no thanks. I'd rather not pay into that. I'll save money on my own.
Why do you have a problem taking care of the most vulnerable people in our society? This is an ongoing
People
trend.
should take care of
themselves. You don't want to
themselves.
take care of the elderly. You don't want to get the social media and protect kids from being brain controlled by all these apps that are programming it and using them in malicious ways towards children.
Because I believe in freedom.
Why don't you want to provide a free and fair society to all people, even the most vulnerable of us?
I want to provide a free and fair society. I want to provide individual liberty. I want people to be responsible for their own decisions and to have a government that protects them from external harm, not the consequences of their own bad decisions, because such a system creates pernicious incentives where money and effort is confiscated from one group to another. That's what our system is. It's a generational transfer of wealth from struggling young people to comparatively very rich older people. Older people have more money in the society than they used to.
When people collect their Social Security, they have usually given their work and their life all they had to give.
Well,
now they're on the tail end of their life and should recuperate.
And they should get that. I want the freedom to stop paying into it. That's what I want.
Well, but why though? You want to receive it all.
Why? Because it's my money and I don't want to pay into it. I just don't want to.
That's just the bottom line. You don't want to take care of the elderly in our socigy.
I don't think it's my obligation. I think
it's like the youth.
My obligations are to the elderly
future.
in my family, not to elderly people who bought their house. Young people can't buy houses. They can't afford childcare. They have more wealth. They've accumulated wealth. Young people don't have wealth, and they're very ticked off about it, and understandably so, in my view.
Up next, Russian President Vladimir Putin is accusing Kiev's European allies of sabotaging talks with the U.S. Don't go anywhere.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is meeting with U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner in Moscow on Tuesday for peace talks on ending the Russia-Ukraine war. The talks went past midnight but did not reach a compromise on a possible peace deal.
Now, before this meeting, Putin said that he was ready to go to war with Europe. Here he was speaking to journalists in Moscow early Tuesday.
Они же на стороне войны.
Now, speaking in to attack Europe, but, quote, if Europe suddenly wants to wage a war with us and starts it, we are ready right away. There can be no doubt about that.
Putin added that Ukraine's European allies are sabotaging U.S.-led efforts to end the war, asserting, quote, they don't have a peace agenda, they're on the side of the war, and called their demands absolutely unacceptable.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting Ireland in his travels to European allies. The AP reports that Ukrainian soldiers are expressing strong doubts that Moscow can be trusted to abide by any peace deal.
Well, look, I mean, Putin is obnoxious because, yes, he started the war. This is a reaction to what he has done in invading a sovereign country. So, his perspective on this is very biased and very warped. And I don't know that he can be trusted, but we need to end the war, as I've said many times, because Ukraine can only hold out so much longer, and thousands of people are dying, and they don't have a good negotiating position, so the terms are going to be unfavorable to them, and I think we have to all live with that. I hope there's a security guarantee for the rest of Ukraine, and Russia keeps what it took, and that's the best deal we can possibly get. Will it be enough? I don't know. And if the Russians are just not going to make any kind of recognition there of the rest of Ukraine, then I don't know why we would fold. But it's a very tough situation, and I think Witkoff and Kushner are doing their best. I have total confidence in them, and good luck to them. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I think with the problem with Witkoff is that there was what we saw his interview with Tucker Carlson when he's like talking about Putin's a fine guy, but even if you put that to the side, just the acceptance.
You got to say that.
Fine, but even the acceptance of this 28-point plan that specifically people close to it have said that it came directly from Russia, and it was their 28-point plan to solve this and didn't have any Ukrainian input. And then when I mentioned to you last week that European leaders like President Macron in France said they're uncomfortable and don't trust Putin for some of these reasons. Well, he's explaining and showing exactly why we shouldn't accept plans and celebrate dictators in this way, because this is exactly what happens. He's just doing pretty much whatever he wants. And I think, it's been 4 years and Russia shows no change and no chance of scaling back. When Putin met with President Trump during that time earlier this year, when we thought we were moving forward and making progress around the summertime, you saw him at the same time attacking Ukraine in the process of it. When he and his team reportedly sent this plan over, you see him at the same time attacking Ukraine and escalating attacks. And now saying verbiage that everybody can pull from, that we're ready to go to war with all of Europe. This is the exact fear that Europe had by them moving in on Ukrainian territory because they feel less protected as a NATO ally. And so he's agitating the situation when our European allies have come to the White House and expressed way more concern than it seems Witkoff and the president have.
What are they prepared to do about it? What are they going to do about it?
Well, we know that
it's not our job.
He's already
continent.
But he's already agitated in some of our allies' territories, and so we're getting closer to that line. Like, how close to the line do you want to get? And so that's what I'm asking. What are we going to say about it when our allies are telling us they don't want us to accept the plan that Putin has put forward? At least push back and give some more steam to Ukraine.
What do you mean by push back?
Push back and say, no, we don't accept you just saying you take and cede all the territory that you already taken. We don't accept you just laying out exactly what you want.
We'll say
it's
that,
like your
and
wish
then they'll
list.
just take it anyway.
I know, but we don't know what the conversations are, and so we're talking from a place of not being in the room with Witkoff.
I know that
and all we know is that Witkoff says he's a good
Ukraine.
guy, and we're going to accept the plan that he sent. And he's trying to convince President Trump to accept the plan that Russia sends over, and Europe doesn't agree with that.
If they want that territory back, they got to take it by force. Send in troops then, declare war on Russia, and go get it back. And if you're not willing to do that, I don't want to hear much more about it, because that's the only option. We're not going to negotiate them out into giving the territory up, because they don't have to. We have to force them militarily, which we're not willing to do, and it doesn't sound like Europe's willing to do. In which case, put up or shut up. Do it or stop complaining about it. That's what I have to say to them.
I don't think that Russia wants to stay in this war this long. But we'll keep talking about this. Yeah. I don't think they want to keep going on. Next up, pop star Sabrina Carpenter is blasting the White House for using one of her songs in a social media video about deportations. My Lens is up next.
All right, Lindsey, what's in your lens today?
Let's get right to it. So let me start with this. I know we're living in strange political times, but lately it feels like the federal government's social media feeds are being run by the kids that they used to warn us about online. The tone is petty, the memes are chaotic, and the creative direction feels unhinged. At the center of the chaos are artists and real people who keep getting dragged into political battles they never signed up for. This week, it was Sabrina Carpenter. The White House posted a video celebrating migrant deportations, complete with federal agents, quote, handcuffing, tackling, and chasing people, all set to Sabrina's song, Juno. And she didn't mince words. In her response, she wrote on X, quote, "This video is evil and disgusting. Do not ever involve me or my music to benefit your inhumane agenda." And she's not wrong. The Trump administration doubled down, with the White House spokeswoman, Abigail Jackson, emailing a snarky response referencing Sabrina's own album title. Quote, "Here's a short and sweet message for Sabrina Carpenter. We won't apologize for deporting dangerous, criminal, illegal murderers, rapists, and pedophiles. Anyone who would defend these sick monsters must be stupid, or is it slow?" That was a quote from Sabrina's own lyric from Manchild, "Stupid or is it slow?" But Sabrina isn't the only one saying, "Keep my art out of your politics." Even Franklin the turtle, yes, this gentle little turtle from Canadian children's series, is somehow caught in an international crossfire. The U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared a meme of Franklin firing a rocket launcher from a helicopter on what looked like a narco crime mission. He captioned it, "For your Christmas wish list." The publisher quickly clapped back, quote, "Franklin the turtle is a beloved Canadian icon." They went on to say, "We strongly condemn any denigrating, violent, or unauthorized use of Franklin's name or image which directly contradicts these values." And the list goes on. Norman Rockwell's family publicly condemned the Department of Homeland Security for pairing Rockwell's nostalgic paintings with slogans like "Protect our American way of life" to push anti-immigration messaging. Rockwell's descendants said the artist would be, quote, "devastated to see his work marshaled for the cause of persecution towards immigrant communities and people of color." The family of painter Thomas Kincaid demanded DHS remove his artwork from posts pushing, quote, "Protect the homeland." They said it promoted division and xenophobia. Even Celine Dion asked why, quote, "My Heart Will Go On," the popular song of all songs, was blasting at a Trump rally in Montana. Halo, the video game, the original art director called the DHS's use of the game's imagery, quote, "absolutely abhorrent." And comedian Theo Von forced the department to pull a clip of him on its social media, saying his views on immigration are, quote, "a lot more nuanced than the video they posted allows." Artists of every genre, medium, and generation are saying the same thing. Stop dragging us into this. When the government's official platforms start looking like troll accounts, chasing engagement is not just embarrassing. At this point, it's not about politics. It's about professionalism. Because whether you're Sabrina Carpenter, Celine Dion, Theo Von, or Franklin the Turtle, nobody wants to be associated with an administration that uses memes like middle schoolers and calls it governance.
Have you seen the meme, "All your memes are belong to us"?
No.
That's what's going on here. I mean, look, I've been told my whole life by the left that art is political. All right, Trump allies, the MAGA movement, are borrowing art for their own political purposes, just as the left has always said. And you're enforcing this view of copyright that you own your artistic creation and should have final and ultimate say over how it is used. I'm not sure I believe in that, honestly.
Well, so Robby,
do I find?
Are you an
some of
artist?
the-
Are you an artist? Do you have do you express yourself in any other way besides political debate?
Yes, in my role as a Dungeons and Dragons dungeon master,
Okay.
I draw little maps and things.
Okay.
My art is about second grade level, I
Okay.
would say. It's competitive with second graders.
So let's just use that art.
Yeah.
You might draw and be inspired to draw with Dungeons and Dragons and have a message that you want to put in there that only people who understand Dungeons and Dragons and anybody else who gets context clues may really understand, but it's your message that could be political, but it's yours because you drew it. That doesn't mean that you want the Department of Homeland Security taking your message, misconstruing it, and making it mean what they want it to
Look,
mean.
if they don't own the copyright for it and they can't use it, then they got to take it down. That's fine.
Yes, exactly. But even with someone like Theo Von, who's a supporter and podcaster, interviewed President
Some of
Trump
these
and
things
had a
aren't the
friendly
same.
interview. No, he said, take this down. You're using it in the wrong way. It's most of these things that I name are related to immigration videos
Franklin
that are
thing-
used in the wrong way.
the Franklin
thing was related to narco-terrorists and a cartoon that little babies watch, and they have him shooting a gun, pretending like he's part of this Venezuela drama, and they think that's appropriate in the middle of us harassing Canada and taxing them and tariffing them
doing
to no
edits.
end. They're harassing people that don't want to be involved. Franklin the Turtle and its creator certainly does not want to be involved in our narco-terror drama with Venezuela.
Well, I'm sorry. The imagery of Franklin is being appropriated by conservatives for a conservative purpose. They can do that. I don't know what you want
No,
me to say.
if no one wants to be involved, get a clue. Just get a clue. People actually want to be governed in real ways, like the counterterrorism or counter-narcotics, whatever we're calling it now, so that it could appease Trump's agenda, is something that most of American public on both sides of the aisle have verbally disagreed with. Leadership on both sides have said, we need more clarity here. The American public is confused about what's going on, and they're making jokes at the same time. Wait, let me finish. Without providing answers, they're posting memes of Franklin the Turtle. People are actually concerned about immigration. There are studies that have come out, specifically the Latin American group in America that Trump has touted gaining more votes from is protesting against the way that he's treating people in their community in the U.S. And so that's also a problem. He's losing support there. And then not to mention the overall approval rating, much of which because of the economy and some of these
What does this have to do with Franklin the Turtle?
Because I'm just saying these are policies that they're acting like Franklin, Celine Dion, everybody supports, and these are some of the policies which is names why the approval rating's so low.
I mean, that image that we have on screen,
yes,
that is a manipulated image from AI, I presume.
Yes, that his creators don't want to happen.
But
we really just blew up boats and killed people.
Let me finish. The creator doesn't own that image. You can do that. It doesn't violate copyright laws. Sorry. Or we need a new category of law, I guess, to decide whether it does. I think it's a manipulation of the image that you no longer own the image for a political purpose. You can disagree with it, but I don't like what is the argument you're making?
Can you guys pull up the Franklin picture again? Out of common decency, since we just killed people that may be innocent.
Well,
Franklin's the actual character that somebody created and copywrote. But
yeah.
But this image, we literally in a conversation as we speak, doing segments on Rising about killing innocent, perhaps maybe innocent people that are related to this counter-narcotics mission that the president is going forward with, that has friction on both sides of the aisle and internationally, and then you put this cartoon up within the last few days. I just have a problem with
I object to the policy, not the cartoon.
No, I object to the fact that our leadership is this immature. That's the part that I object to. That the whole world is watching and really wants answers, and your answer is posting a cartoon.
I don't know.
Most of which doesn't want to be involved with any of this.
But you can post a cartoon. For instance, I saw one, Franklin escorts Candace Owens to the mental health hospital, that I thought was hilarious.
Okay, but are you not going to respond to the maturity of it all? That people are actually dying and we're posting memes from the leadership
policy.
account.
I guess I don't care about the meme. I care about the policy. The policy, I have said, I do object to. I think Congress has to declare war on Venezuela or on narco-terrorists for this to be a legitimate action. It's not really the second firing that seems to have bothered everyone. If they have the authority to destroy the boat, they have the authority to kill the people. I question whether the military action being taken against the boat is consistent with the Constitution. But I don't quite. Of course, they can defend. If they're going to defend it from a public relations standpoint with cartoons, they can do
Sabrina
that.
Carpenter with ice raids. It's just like, no, just people want real solutions, long-term solutions, and effective communication from the highest of leadership.
This is effective communication.
No, it's not. And so social media is now a tool that we use, you said, to effectively get news.
I don't think Democrats have figured out what effective communication is.
This is not effective communication.
I disagree.
Poor and childish and immature when people want real answers about serious, perhaps war crimes that are being committed by our country. But if he wants to put
they're not going to admit. They're not going to
jokes about
their
it.
Position is not that they're committing war crimes, so they're not going to put in their messaging, we are committing war crimes.
Their position should not be make a joke out of it and find ways to attack, whether it's about the Venezuela situation or Sabrina Carpenter about immigration and ice raids. It should be to find a long-term solution to immigration, not attack an artist because she doesn't want her music associated with.
Is now the time when I confess I don't know who Sabrina Carpenter is?
You do know who she is. Stop. Yes,
she is.
And you do this
What's
all
her
the time.
song?
He wants to her most popular song is Espresso, but you do know who she is, and you try to pretend, but you do.
This is some white girl.
Robby knows who she is.
All right, let us know what you think about the Franklin memes. Coming up, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik was enraged at her own side, Speaker Mike Johnson, earlier this week over an Arctic frost-related provision that she was trying to get passed. Things may have cooled down now. Stay with us.
Republican New York Representative Elise Stefanik was feuding with Mike Johnson earlier this week, but now it appears the two have made up. It has to do with the annual defense spending bill lawmakers are trying to pass by the end of this month.
Some Republicans, including Stefanik, were looking to add a provision to the bill that would require the FBI to notify Congress when conducting counterintelligence investigations into federal candidates seeking office. But on Monday, Stefanik took to X, accusing Johnson of siding with Democrats to block that provision. She wrote in part, "Unless this provision is added back into the bill to prevent illegal political weaponization of the intelligence community in our elections, I am a hard no. I have always voted in support of the defense and intelligence authorization bills, but no more. It is a scandalous disgrace that Republicans are allowing themselves to be rolled by the Dems and the deep state on this."
Now this all goes back to the FBI's Crossfire hurricane probe into alleged ties between Trump's 2026 campaign and Russia. Stefanik has been pushing for this provision for years and doubled down on it after the Arctic frost investigation that looked into the efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
But when reporters brought up the issue to Mike Johnson, he denied any involvement in removing the provision and said he actually supports it. Take a look.
So that provision was dropped out of the NDAA. It doesn't mean it can't become law or even that that is a final decision. But I sent my friend Elise a text last night and I said, can you find out what the issue was and I'll help you resolve it. I support her provision. I mean, I would vote for it. I think it's smart. And I'm not sure exactly why it wasn't included. So I don't know why she's frustrated with me. I literally had nothing to do with it, but I'm happy to roll up my sleeves and help her.
Unfortunately for Johnson, Stefanik was not buying any of his explanation. She continued her social media tirade on Tuesday, calling him a liar. But then Wednesday morning, the Congresswoman sent out an update. Great news. After a productive discussion I had last night with President Trump and Speaker Johnson, the provision requiring congressional disclosure when the FBI opens counterintelligence investigations into presidential and federal candidates seeking office will be included in the NDAA bill on the floor. This is a significant legislative win delivered against the illegal weaponization of the deep state. And of course, while this is an important step, there is so much more work to do.
I don't know that I do support this provision. Here's my problem.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Well, but here's my problem. I don't like when Congress, political people who otherwise support domestic surveillance and law enforcement's surveilling of Americans and the Patriot Act and the spying on Americans and the collecting of our data, vote for some special carve-out for politicians. Like, that's my problem with this whole Arctic Frost thing. They're furious that their records were obtained but looked at by law enforcement, and I share their outrage. But I'm outraged on behalf of all of the American people. I'm not so outraged on behalf of Republicans who voted for this very power to be invested in law enforcement. So now they're going to say that if you get to have a heads up from law enforcement if you're being investigated if you're a congressional candidate, but not if you're an ordinary American. I don't know about that. I'd have to think about it further. I'd have to read the greater details, but I don't want special accommodations for the politicians. Let them abide by, if they created the deep state, if they're annoyed by it, dismantle it. But they're only outraged when it happens to one of them or it happens to Trump. And I've criticized Republicans for that for a long time. They're furious when their text messages get read by the FBI. But what about the rest of us? They voted to give the FBI that power over and over again. They reauthorize it every time without thinking, without batting an eyelash. Now they're mad? I don't know about that. It's weak to me.
Well, I think it's interesting. The interesting part of this whole thing to me is the way that this feels like there was an intention to take it out of this proposal, and so the fact that it's
Mike
now
Johnson's
back in
such
there,
a smooth guy. He's like, we took it out. What are you talking
yeah,
about?
exactly. That's what it felt very much
why
like.
Is she even mad?
Yes. So I appreciate.
It's such a gaslighting sort of way
yes.
of talking to the frustrated female members of his So
that it's interesting to me the way that the president and Johnson handled this in Stefanik is totally different, and maybe her approach is a little bit different because she didn't go as many times at any leadership. But then Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? She kind of went, like, I guess, hit. There's a little friction within the GOP right now.
What are you talking about? You sound crazy. You should smile more.
No.
That's what he's saying.
Wait.
To the Stefaniks and MTGs.
Exactly. So it's kind of like pushing them away. But I
life.
think that for her to go on X this morning and say this has been an update, it makes me wonder why they wanted to cater to her so much. So then I looked into it, and I know that she obviously announced her gubernatorial bid last month. And so she's looking forward to moving forward in that election in New York and gaining steam on Governor Hochul. And that's a goal for her. But I know that she's like a popular player within the Republican Party right now who maybe wants to differentiate herself and say that I am outside of the bureaucracy, even though she's in Congress, like you said, and we have to look at her record and see how many times that she has approved and voted for things that will surveil everyone else. But when it happens to anyone that she's an ally with, it's a problem. But I think the fact that she is trying to, in the same way that I felt Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to differentiate herself in certain ways because of bigger political aspirations, that's the bigger end game to me for her here, is to say, I was the one that stood up. She can roll on her record when people start to bring this up in New York, especially because New York is a place where people probably feel extremely over-surveilled because there's so many people and so many instances of like NYPD using or acquiring information about people because it's such a populated city. So I think that she's trying to use this for future gains with her interest. And I think that why they responded so quickly might be because they know that if she is the governor of New York, they're going to need that ally for most things.
Well, and remember, she was picked to be, I think, ambassador by Trump to the UN. Is that correct? Can Control Room remind me of what that was? And then they had to withdraw that because they couldn't afford to give up that House seat because it's too close. and they don't know. So I think she might feel a bit like she took a major sacrifice and has not gotten enough of a reward, of an attention, of a high-profile slot, and she's fed up with GOP leadership for not recognizing her.
But it also is interesting because she's in this in-between where, yes, President Trump is the leader of the party. Johnson is in a leadership position also. But those tides may start to turn even as she pursues, you know, as we look into the midterms and next year's elections, the tides may turn because people know they can't vote for Trump again. We have this conversation often. So what does it mean for her to be allied?
Might not be in the majority
Mike Johnson,
again.
yeah, he might not be in the same position. So there's so much that is connected to her trying to, I guess, flex her muscles a little bit in this moment. That means like, no, propel me up right now before it's too late, and then you won't have an ally when you're about to lose your position or when people can't vote on your name. And I think there's a lot of that happening within the GOP right now, which, listen, I'm not saying that just to only criticize one party. The Democrats have their own stuff going on. But within the GOP, there's a lot of fighting and friction. And to do this publicly once again, it shows that there's a little more disarray than I think people want to actually admit. And the fact that they responded so quickly makes me wonder what power they think she's going to have within the next few years.
I guess we'll see.
Costco Wholesale has sued the Trump administration before the Court of International Trade for a refund of the tariffs. We'll talk about that next. Stay with us. Looks like retail giant Costco is also feeling a dent in their pocket because of the Trump tariffs. Costco filed a lawsuit Friday seeking a full refund of the tariffs it has paid on imported goods if the Supreme Court declares them to be illegal.
The complaint argues that President Trump misused a 1977 law in his move to implement tariffs. Costco said in the filing that the tariffs have been, quote, threatened, modified, suspended, and reimposed with the markets gyrating in response because IEEPA does not clearly authorize the president to set tariffs. The challenged tariff orders cannot stand, and the defendants are not authorized to implement and collect them.
Dozens of companies across industries have filed lawsuits to seek refund, including makeup giant Revlon, canned foods maker Bumblebee, motorcycle maker Kawasaki, and board game company Smirk and Dagger Games.
They make good games. The Supreme Court is weighing the future of President Trump's tariffs on nearly all imports. The justices heard oral arguments last month assessing whether Trump can invoke the 1970s Emergency Powers Law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, to justify these sweeping tariffs. And you'll recall that the Supreme Court seemed very skeptical about that. It seemed to me like there were a number of votes to say that this has been wrongly applied. I think that would be a good thing. I'm not in favor of the tariffs. I think Costco should be able to recoup all of the money they've lost as a result of this unconstitutional tax. What do you want me to say? It is a tax. The companies know their taxes. They pay it, and they pass it on to you, the customer. And I'm fully on their side because I'm a cold-hearted capitalist, and I want people to be taxed less.
Well,
we're taxed enough already.
Costco did pay higher prices, and so they have a right to move
right,
forward
we
with
pay
this.
higher prices.
Costco paid higher tariffs, and in turn, that turned into higher prices for all of us.
Yeah.
In like higher prices, especially when it came down to electronics and all the things that were specifically affected by some of these tariffs, outdoor equipment. I think that also the American public, which is a large portion of it that shops at Costco, should also be refunded for those higher prices if this is illegal. I think Costco's asking for this money, but now everyone else should get their money because President Trump is also simultaneously saying that he wants to give these tariff checks from all the money that people are getting. No, people just want to keep their money in their pocket. If you're giving us back the same money that you took from us because we paid more to get that TV,
then it's just
this is just foolish. Just
weird redistribution that creates market inefficiency that is just a bad idea.
Right. If these tariffs are ruled as illegal, this was just an illegal tax that we all paid and nobody's going to get their money back besides the companies that have the money to fight the government in court over a wrongdoing. So, I think like Costco is leading the charge on this, Revlon, some other people, but it's because they don't want to be the same big box companies that are able to provide fair prices that no longer can in a time when the economy is particularly tight for a lot of people. I mean, we talked about it in a variety of ways going into this holiday season. Like, yeah, people spent a lot on Black Friday. It hit record numbers, but they also bought way less. Yeah. That means things were just costing more. So when we look at the numbers and analyze data like that, we have to understand the overall plight of the average American right now. It's not that great.
Do you shop at Costco?
I do. But you know what? Because it's Colin, Kinsley, and I in the house, I find it wildly absurd the amount of things that we can get for just
Right.
people that eat small meals. So
Right.
we do, if it's like long lasting, we'll get from there. But most times, it's just like way too much food. Like the
Right.
chicken is like a 40 pack. Where are we going with that? It's just
Right.
too
We
much.
only have we live in apartments, so there's only so much room. I like going there for the free samples.
Or you just walk around sample to sample.
great. They're
Kinsley and I like the pizza. You know
Yeah.
how you can check out and
Yeah.
there's like food out there. The pizza's
Yeah,
pretty good.
my fiance likes to shop there. I mostly shop at just the more. The
Like, what
grocery
are you
store
guys getting
chain.
with just the two?
Well, right.
Costco.
That's
what
why
I
it's
want to know.
ridiculous to do it. But
Like, do you get like you can get a big liquor if you're having a party?
Yeah, yeah.
Big liquor
Well,
bottles. That's
I
know.
did buy some wine from there, and it was actually we just ordered it because Costco does delivery.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
And I was like, there's no way this is economically efficient to do it this way, but it was free delivery, and it cost just as much as it does at the grocery store. So I feel like we're doing a Costco commercial right now. I was surprised by how
Costco
good
also
it
was one of the companies that avoided the backlash from cutting DEI, going into a conversation I know that you love. A lot of people supported them, and
they didn't cut DEI?
Because they didn't cut DEI.
Well, then I
They
don't
were
wanna shop
adamantly
there.
again. Well, you should keep shopping there because they didn't cut DEI. They're doing really good. Their stock
Gotta
went up.
cut it.
And Target, I know you've seen the news, is failing miserably, unfortunately, because of some of the choices they made around DEI. A lot of people aren't supporting them anymore. So I think Costco, from suing Trump to keeping DEI, my type of place, I'll be up in there.
We did
getting
get some
all my
good. We got some good lobster
unnecessary
tails
good.
from there.
So you do support them. You support DEI. You support.
No,
Yeah, you like Costco.
DEI.
When you spend your dollar somewhere, you're supporting a company. I'm sorry to tell you, and all its policies.
I don't engage in personal boycotts. I'd be too furious with everyone. I'd have
wouldn't
to
shop anywhere.
make all my own food. Yeah.
You should cook at home more.
Well, I do cook it. No, I cook at home.
Do
I
you?
also cook at home.
What type of stuff do you make?
We make all the basics. A lot of meat and pastas and fish. I cook a lot of seafood now. I grill everything.
Okay.
I've started grilling absolutely everything. I've got a grill on my rooftop. I'm up there every night, baby.
And Costco also sells grills, and they probably want their money back for those extra tariffs.
I just use the one in the building. I don't have my own. Maybe next time, if we move into a house, I will get a grill of my own. I'll just fully transition to old man mode. I want a lawn. I want a grill. I want to complain about the gutters or whatever. That's
We got to get
my
this
life.
party started. So
Yeah.
when the weather warms up,
Get it
we're
started.
gonna do this.
That does it for us on Rising Live. Thanks for watching, and look out for more exclusive YouTube content coming your way later today. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Hills YouTube channel so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you can find podcasts. See you later.